a suburban guy made good, Hollywood star of blockbusters like Saving Private Ryan, and now an indie filmmaker and the envy of men everywhere for his marriage to Christy Turlington. His latest film is Newlyweds. He made that film for just $9,000. Yes, $9 grand. Ed Burns, welcome.
Thank you.
So, first question, off the bat, we just had Jack Welch describing his pulling technique for wooing his beautiful young wife as charm and his wallet. I interviewed your wife, Christy Turlington, one of the most beautiful women in history. Which one was it? The charm or the wallet?
I'm a guy making movies for $9,000. so somehow it was the charm.
Tell me about this, because it's absolutely fascinating that in this economic climate, you've been able to make a movie for such a ridiculously low sum of money. How did you go about it? So why have you done this?
You know, there's been a couple of things that have happened in the last few years. The technological revolution that's sort of happened with digital cameras has enabled us to, you know, when I started with Brothers McMullen and made that movie for $25,000, you shot it on an old camera with Recan 16 millimeter, and it looked like a cheap little indie film. But in the last 3 years, you've had cameras like the Red camera come out, which is pretty affordable. We shot this film on a Canon 5D, which is a still camera that also shoots video. I bought it at B&H for $2,800.
Amazing.
And the film looks terrific.
Well, let's see a clip. Let's just test this theory.
Listen, I appreciate you trying to be my big brother.
I'm not trying to do it here, but you were being crazy. We talked yesterday.
Look, I know, but it happened, okay? Like, things happen sometimes, but I'm handling it.
No, you know what? You're not handling What you're doing is sleeping with my wife's ex-husband.
No, I'm not. I'm not sleeping with him. I slept with him. There is a difference.
I mean, you just couldn't tell that was some cheap, relatively cheap way of making a movie.
And the exciting thing is I go to film schools all the time and talk to the kids, and what's exciting is the playing field has been leveled. You know, now these kids can get in and they can make a great looking film, and you know, that point of entry is so low. You know, there isn't the economic hurdle anymore. So,
and you also used very cleverly, I thought, social media, Twitter in particular, to help with the script for the movie. I mean, basically, you're paying for nothing, you big tightwad.
Yeah. Well, I've been very lucky with my Twitter followers.
Tell me how it worked, though. How did that work?
I was coming up with the idea for the screenplay, and I knew that it was going to be about a newly wedded couple. They're on their second marriage. They think they can stay above the fray. They've made the mistakes. And the second time around, something was going to happen to cause them to get to know one another in a real way. And I tweeted out to my followers, all right, what's the thing that happened in the first year of marriage that you had the first big fight about? And 9 out of 10 tweets that came back to me had to do with a family member. My crazy sister crashed on our couch. We had to move in with my in-laws. So from that, it sort of spurred an idea, and I wrote the script accordingly.
How will it fare, this movie, do you think? I mean, what do you hope? What's the expectation?
Well, the thing that's amazing is using social media now to publicize the film. And we've done this thing where theatrical doesn't make financial sense for indie films for the most part. So we did a digital distribution where it goes out on video on demand, and certain companies like Comcast and Time Warner have done a great job recognizing that the indie audience doesn't go to the theater like they used to. They're sitting home at their couch. And iTunes is another major component. In 7 days of release, we have already made the budget back times, I don't know, 5 or 6, and not the $9,000 budget. The budget all in after post-production is about $125,000.
And you've already made, what, $500,000?
Just, I would say, a little shy of that. So we're doing...
But that's a properly good business.
It's very robust.
It's not some kind of weird vanity project. This makes money.
And we did not expect to do this. We did a movie last year called Nice Guy Johnny that did nowhere near that. I mean, it did very well, but this has surprised everybody.
Well, the advantage is, presumably, if it flops, who cares? I mean, it's not like it's a shame for you artistically, but financially, you can do another one.
We look at it like this. We are an indie rock band. We're going to get together after work and rehearse. On the weekends, we're going to find studio time and cut the record. We'll get it up on iTunes. Keep your fingers crossed. And you do it for one reason. You love it, and because you can. And when you make a film for $9,000, the other great thing is there isn't the studio head or the financier standing over your shoulder as your collaborator, and therefore making changes. You don't have the title of your film change. You cast who you want. They don't have to change the ending of the film. You use the music that you want. So you now have full creative control. You have a blast making the movie. It's an economic model that makes sense in a business that had been seeing declining profits. And the other thing is, we, the filmmakers, never saw any money, even when the movies did well.
Also, I remember interviewing Sylvester Stallone. He told me out of Rocky Balboa, the sixth movie, which made well over $200 million, he made no money from it. He said, if I hear the phrase back end in wherever it was, the Ukraine, for posters one more time, I'm going to kill myself. And I was absolutely startled. But anyway, fascinating story. Let's take a little break and come back about your other fascinating story, which is your brother married your wife's sister. This has to be fraught with danger. Let's discuss the danger after the break. Back now with Ed Burns, the indie filmmaker extraordinaire and husband of Christy Turlington. So come on then. So you marry Christy Turlington, which in itself is a fantastic achievement for which I salute you. And then, unbelievably, your brother Brian moves in on her sister. Now, be honest, if that was my brother and I had pulled Christy Turlington and he began to move in on my patch, I would be furious and I would try and stop this happening at all costs.
Terrified that he might screw it up.
Just
and then,
ruin everything.
Yeah. Fortunately, it did not happen. I mean,
was it in your mind that it might?
Oh yeah, I took him out fishing and I said, Brian, you have to be 100% sure about this. And fortunately, 2 kids later, they're doing great. So,
do you all hang out together?
All the time. I mean, that's how it happened. We would always go out to dinner, or we did a ski trip together, a whitewater rafting trip together, and there was some innocent flirtation. And then the next thing you know, actually at our wedding, the real sparks flew.
It was at your wedding?
It was at our wedding, yeah.
That's a great story.
Oh, it's dynamite, yeah.
And is it as unusual as it appears? Or do you now, everywhere you go, meet other people who know about it?
It's funny, now that people know the story, we'll constantly hear from other folks who said, oh, that was our grandparents or our aunt and uncle or that kind of thing. But he's got the rights to the script.
And is being married to Christy Turlington as good as I've always imagined it would be? Be honest.
Yes, it is, yeah. And that's all I will say.
You wake up every morning and there is Christy Turlington lying next to you. Yeah. Life has to be
and
good,
she,
doesn't it?
wakes up and looks at me and says, what the hell was I thinking?
Well, she's waking up next to Ed Burns.
Yeah.
This is a marriage made in heaven. Yeah. It's quite, and you're making movies for $9,000 and making $500,000 a pop. Yeah. Well, that's pretty good, isn't it?
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Do you watch many movies yourself now? Do you have time?
I do. I'm a movie nut, but given that we have little kids, if we go to the theater, it's going to be a kids movie. I'm usually streaming on Netflix or watching something off of Apple TV.
Who do you fancy for the Oscars this year?
You know what? I mean, my guy, as you know, we were just discussing, I'm a Woody Allen nut, so I always pull for Woody. I think it's going to be Alexander Payne's movie, The Descendants.
I love The Descendants.
Yeah,
I thought George Clooney was fantastic in that.
No, the whole cast was great, and he's always, I mean...
Yeah, but he took a bit of it was a different kind of thing for him. He wasn't just the normal heartthrob Clooney. I thought it was a really challenging role, and he was a vulnerable character and totally tormented, and it was a fascinating thing to watch him do, actually, wasn't it?
Well, you look at all the actors that have the pleasure of working with Payne. I mean, you look at what Paul Giamatti did in Sideways, Nicholson in About Schmidt. I mean, he pulls those great, very different performances out of actors.
Will you be at the Golden Globes?
I will not. No.
So you'll be avoiding the Ricky Gervais roast?
Yeah. We'll be home in New York watching it on television.
Do you laugh as loudly as I do at the sheer amount of offence he causes?
I just absolutely love it.
Do you think in a funny way?
I'm just glad that I'm not there being the one getting picked on.
Yeah, but I mean, I kind of think that he has almost single-handedly pricked the balloon of pomposity which pervaded those award ceremonies in America, hasn't he? The fact that he's been invited back now 3 times.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible.
But don't you think he has? He's kind of made American stars perhaps a little bit too pampered in recent years laugh at themselves again.
That's interesting. I guess, yeah. I mean, clearly they've invited him back, and it is the Golden Globe, so it's not the Oscars. I don't know that would fly at the Oscars.
I would unleash him at the Oscars.
We'll see.
Actors do take themselves terribly seriously. They do need a regular dose of Gervais.
Yeah.
But could you take it?
I think so. I mean, I can take a ribbing. I mean, I grew up in a house where we just made fun of one another, all day and night long, so I can handle a good rib.
Well, if I was married to Christy Turlington, I could take a few jibes from Ricky Gervais. Thank you so much, Ed.
Hey, thank you.
It's been a real pleasure.
Really.
I look forward to watching the film.
Cool.
That's all for us tonight. AC 360 starts now.